So let's talk about what mindfulness meditation does to your brain. There was a study that was carried out at Yale University, and what they found in the study was that mindfulness meditation decreased activity in an area of the brain called the default mode network. That's the area of the brain that's responsible for mind wandering, for self-referential thoughts. And these are thoughts that are on default. You are not consciously thinking these thoughts, they're just happening. So the default mode network is quote unquote on or active when we're not focused on something or we're not thinking about anything in particular. What it does is it just wanders from thought to thought. So this mind wandering that the default mode network engages in all the time is associated with being less happy. It's associated with ruminating. It's associated with worrying about the past and being obsessively anxious about the future. And the problem with that wandering from thought to thought is that often somebody that has been through trauma, especially emotional trauma, has internalized voices of the abuser in their mind. And so the default mode network is just on default. It's just playing what's there in your mind, whatever you have internalized. So a lot of those are very negative. They are negative beliefs about yourself. They are negative outlooks on life. They are thoughts that keep you in patterns that often keep the trauma alive. And so what's interesting is that mindfulness meditation helps to quiet that part of the mind. And studies have shown that that quieting effect that mindfulness meditation has on the default mode network is helpful not only in shrinking the hippocampus and strengthening your prefrontal cortex, your hippocampus, your cortical areas of your brain, but on top of that, one very powerful thing that it does is that it starts helping you to uproot those internalized voices. So, for example, those default thoughts that come on tend to have a lot of power over us. They affect our mood, they affect our outlook, they affect what we allow ourselves to do or not do. And so, as we're strengthening this brain training through mindfulness meditation, what that does is it doesn't turn off your default mode network. It doesn't stop those thoughts overnight. It's not like, boom, you flip a switch and those internalized thoughts are gone. No, that's not how recovery looks. But what it looks like is that when the mind starts wandering in that area that is very negative, that is very disempowering, you have the strength now, your brain can see it, have space between you and your thought, and easily snap out of it and return back to center because it has the new neural connections to be out of those loops. And so as a result, you are less controlled by your thoughts. And now you're training your brain to be where you want it to focus. And that results in an increase in contentment and an increase in the ability to be present in the moment, an increase in the ability to let go of anxiety about the future, to let go of the rumination from the past, and really learn to strengthen your ability to be in the moment, which is all we have that really matters, is where we are at this very moment. We can't guarantee tomorrow. We can't go back to yesterday. And so if we spend all of our time in those two areas, we're missing our life. Life is passing us by and we're not living in it. So this is an amazing, amazing tool to help with that. Now, I'm going to be dead honest. Depending on where you're at on your healing journey, you can feel resistance to doing mindfulness meditation. Okay, I know I did, because there's something about trauma. There's something about when you've been through trauma that you think that more is needed. So it's like, okay, just be still and just, practice being in your body. And there's so much information in regards to what happened to you and the person that inflicted the damage, that it's almost like the brain doesn't want to stop looking at that. It doesn't want to be still because it hasn't been still for so long. In fact, it might have been trained that still is dangerous, in the sense that maybe in the past, when you were in the toxic environment, anytime you were still and relaxed and calm, maybe someone did something that caused a lot of pain. And so now your brain's like, oh no, still is bad, still is dangerous. So you go to do mindfulness meditation and you feel so much discomfort. That's often because of the fact that your brain was trained to not be still, to not rest, to not be in the moment. Okay, so I'm telling you this so that when you notice that discomfort, you don't take that as, oh, this is bad or this doesn't work. Rather, you take that as, oh, that's what my brain's doing because that's what it was trained erroneously to do. And I wanted to share with you the results of one other study that was done at Harvard University. And what they found was 8 weeks of consistently dedicating 30 minutes a day to mindfulness meditation resulted in an increase in cortical thickness in the hippocampus. And there was also a decrease in brain cell volume in the amygdala. And what they found was not only did it change the structures of the brain, but as a result, like I mentioned before, it helps with your psychological well-being. If you're wondering if you need brain training after narcissistic abuse, after childhood trauma, or while you're working through complex PTSD, take a moment and ask yourself these questions. Am I experiencing brain fog? Is it difficult to make decisions? Is it hard for me to be present in the moment? Am I struggling with rumination and excessively worrying about the past? Am I struggling with anxiety, excessively worrying about the future? Do I feel like I'm stuck in fight or flight? Do the smallest things that I have to do on a daily basis cause me to feel an extreme amount of anxiety? If you answered yes to most of those questions, then you can definitely benefit from doing some brain training, and mindfulness meditation videos are awesome to do that. So my next video is going to be an experiential video in the sense that instead of talking about mindfulness meditation, you're going to get to experience it if you would like to do so. And I just wanted to say what you can expect. So depending on where you're at on your journey, when you begin mindfulness meditation, remember that it's not that you're doing nothing. Some people are like, oh, I'm just sitting there, I'm not doing anything. What's that going to do? Again, it is brain training, okay? And what you might find in the beginning is that you can't quiet your default mode network. You might be following along with the mindfulness meditation video, but your mind just won't stop. At that moment, it's so easy to be like, oh, I can't. This isn't for me. Just remember that your mind was trained to not be still by the trauma. And so you have to be patient and recognize that that's where it's at because of the trauma. And now it's the little things you do from here on in to train it to be out of that constant chatter that can really be disempowering. So that being said, you might want to, you might want to start maybe with a timer and start with 5 minutes of mindfulness meditation. And remember that the goal isn't to stop the chatter in the beginning. What you'll be guided to do is to be able to notice it, point it out, and refocus. When you notice it again, you notice it, you point it out, and you refocus again. And that actual extension and coming back, that's like a muscle. You've got the weight, it goes out and it comes back in, and you're working your muscle. Your thoughts go out, you notice them, you bring your thoughts back in. You're creating the neural pathways to break out of those loops and to be centered and grounded within. So be patient with yourself. If you want to start with a 5-minute timer, that's fine, and build your way up. But I challenge you, 8 weeks. Give yourself the time to do that, and you may be amazed with the results that you get to experience.